those here in the group, the 530 plus people that are here now, which we broke over 500 a few days ago. So I'm stoked about that. But a couple things I want to be going over with you guys. Now, in this little impromptu, I'm going to be going over kind of some deeper stuff, okay, in the way of business credit. And if any of you guys, now this is live, right? Now, granted, it's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm in Pacific time. I live in Washington State. So if you guys have any questions as I'm going through this, hit up the chat. Let me know. I'll be sure to answer them as best as I can as I'm going through this. So now to jump right into it. Yesterday, I was on a call with a gentleman. He has an automations company. So what he does is he helps his client get Walmart automation stores. And one cool thing about that is, if you don't know what that is, you think of Amazon automations, right? You get a wholesaler account with Amazon. You can post inventory, sell it. It's e-commerce essentially. Well, this gentleman, he does Walmart automations, which is kind of the new and upcoming source of doing e-com, because the competition is really, really light. It's way harder to get approved for a store because you have to go through an application period. But anyhow, with all of his clients, we're going to be collaborating on some stuff here shortly, helping out his clientele get qualified for business credit and credit card stacking, so that way they can start using that cash flow to buy more inventory, thus making the store have more stuff to sell, in turn making it more profitable and generate more income. I'm going to actually turn down this. I like hella whitewashed, so I got to turn that down a little bit. So he referred his cousin to me. His cousin owns a trucking company, right? He already has one, but he wants to buy more trucks for it. So we had a long conversation as far as how business credit will allow him to start purchasing more equipment, whether if it is getting credit card stacking and business loans and then buy the trucks, or leveraging the business credit to then buy the trucks, buy the trailers, hire on employees. He also has a service side of it where he has a shop where he can do preventative maintenance for semis and big rigs essentially. So that's what's so cool about business credit. It is so broad as far as what you can use it for. And traditionally, when people start a business, is they normally will go through old school funding methods, right? And for a long time, I tried getting them. One of them, of course, is your traditional business loan, which has a lot of benefits, has a lot of disadvantages as well. One of the main disadvantages of having your traditional business loan is, number one, is you have to qualify for it, right? And that takes in a number of different criteria to get qualified for it. Time in business, your revenue, your business model. There's just a bunch associated with it. And especially if you own a new business, that even lessens the amount of, I guess, loans or brokerages you can work with, because most business loans, they want to work with someone that's already established. They already have X amount of revenue, whether if it's annually or monthly. So if you're brand new in business and you're not making $80,000 of revenue a month, it almost makes it impossible. Whereas a lot of stuff that we're going to be teaching further in the group, especially in higher education, I'm starting to call it, like, because this is BCA, Business Credit Academy, I'm going to start calling it like the alumni group, in a sense, higher education as far as what we teach. So that's one thing that is normally thought about when it comes to being able to fund your business. Old school methods. One of them, like I just mentioned a second ago, one of them is just getting a normal business loan. Number two, which is the most common that people do, is they self-fund. So they take all the money they own in the world, they pour it into the business, and they pray and hope to God that it actually works out, that they get an ROI on pulling all their 401k money, which I've done. Don't tell my wife, she's in the group. But anyhow, I had to do that. Honestly, I had to do that to float my businesses out first, until I started to learn business credit. And then I was able to get more money than what I had previously to reinvest back into the business. And now businesses, and now they're all thriving and they're doing well. Another one is, this is very common as well. Not super common, but it's a possibility, is you go out and you look for investors, right? And depending on your business type, it might be more and more difficult to find investors. So basically, if you don't know, in this term, how an investor would come into play is you go and you find somebody with X amount of cash that they could then reinvest into your business. However, in exchange for that, you got to give up equity. Shark Tank, similar concept to that. I'll give you 25% of my business for $100,000, kind of thing like that, right? And at that point, you're not selling the bank, you're selling an individual to write you a check. And then you better do good on that deal. Otherwise, you might have issues down the road. So those are your traditional old school methods of kind of self-funding, getting a business loan, which has its own qualms to it, getting an investor, and then giving up your own piece of your own company that you're going to be doing all the work for. Or the other option is you take the time and you build out and establish your business credit, which then if you are going to go look for a business loan makes you that much more attractive to the bank. And that's going to be a part of what I'm talking about, building out your business to be as attractive as possible. That way you're as fundable as possible. And leveraging card stacking methods. So again, one more time, card stacking is leveraging preferably all 0% business and sometimes personal credit cards to help fund your endeavors of being an entrepreneur. Now, one major benefit with that is usually you can get more money that way. It's a lot quicker. It's a lot more secured, has more benefits. This would be along the lines of utilizing credit card points for travel, for leisure, for fuel, for restaurants, for vacations. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. You can never go out and get a business loan that by using that money to then reinvest back into your business, can you pay for your entire family's vacation, 3 months down the road off of loan points, which are a thing, right? But credit card points are. So that is one of the major benefits of credit card stacking, and how, and one part of this video I'm going to go into is, your major banks, your Bank of America, your Barclay, your Capital One, Chase, Citi, US Bank, Wells Fargo. I can't go through every single one of those individually, but one thing that can be hard to find is like, hey, if I'm trying to build out my business credit and get as many business credit cards as possible, I don't know which bureau do they look for, right? That's going to be one of the things I'm going to touch a point in this little impromptu training I'm doing right now. Because one of the pitfalls that a lot of folks don't notice, or, a pitfall that they fall into is they don't set up their plan strategically. They just go out, they shotgun their own credit to as many other banks or credit unions as they possibly can to get approved for business cards, which then racks up your inquiries, which then only works against you. They don't work on their personal credit, which has, in a lot of cases, a big point about it. They apply for business credit cards without getting a business bank account first with said institution. One thing this is just something we talk about for our higher clients, is one thing we always make sure they do, if they're going to go out and get, say, a Chase Inc., right, or even a Sapphire Reserve or a Sapphire Preferred, is be sure to get a business bank account with them, preferably a business bank account with said institution. That way you can build a relationship, because for a lot of these banks, they're much more likely to approve you and more likely to give you a higher credit limit the better of a relationship you have with them, right? Just like if you go up to a stranger asking for $20, most likely they're going to, discredit you and say, no, I don't have any money, right? I don't carry cash anymore. But if you go to your best friend and be like, hey, I need $20, they're much more likely to lend you the money simply because you have a relationship. Banks work very similar that way. So that's one thing. And then, listing different personal income on different applications. Now, what that could mean is, let's say if you're trying to go out and you're trying to get a Amex Platinum card, whether personal or business, and then right behind it, you try to go get a Sapphire or Chase Sapphire Preferred or a Chase, Business Inc., etc., and you list totally different income on both those applications, well, guess what? Those applications still talk to each other one way, shape, or form. Because I own personal credit companies, I'm very familiar with data furnishers. Data furnishers are simply organizations that basically house like the big filing cabinets, right? That's essentially what they are. They house all the information that you're putting out there in the world. And whenever you have different information from one way or the other, now there's conflict. It's like, hey, if on this application I say I make $50,000 and on this application I say I make $250,000, it's like, how does that? These came in 20 minutes apart from each other. How can you suddenly make an extra $200,000? That simply doesn't make sense. Now you might get approved for the first one, but on the second one, you're hurting your chances. Which the whole point of what we're doing with this kind of stuff is we don't want to do that. Another thing, when you are applying for multiple accounts, you want to make sure that applying too slow for these accounts is bad, and applying too fast for accounts is bad. By too slow is, let's say you try to get approved for a Barclays account, and let's say they decline you, and you never call, what are they called? Oh, this is embarrassing. Basically, where they can rehash the account. Oh my gosh, what are they called? If you would have asked me 20 seconds ago, I would have told you. What are they called? Oh, this is embarrassing, guys. Especially on a live call, this is even more embarrassing. Reconsideration lines. That's what it is. You call the reconsideration line and basically say along the lines of, hey, can you guys recheck out my account to see if you can change your decision here? So that's one application or one example of applying too slow. You apply for Barclays, they decline you, you don't call the reconsideration line. Basically, you just wasted an inquiry, and you don't want that, especially when it comes to business credit and applying for various business credit cards. Inquiries can really come back and bite you in the butt if you have too many of them. Right. Another thing you have to pay attention to now, back on being attracted to the lenders, is you want to make sure that your percentage of utilization is as low as possible. You don't want to start applying for different business credit cards or business loans or business credit cards, trying to build up your score, whatever have be it, right? Whether if it's for cash cards or for cards to build up your score, that'd be a good example like Home Depot, Uline, Granger, 7-Eleven, CEO Club. There's tons of them. But anyhow, if your utilization's all out of whack, you're just hurting your chances of approval. Number two is if you have a huge amount of inquiries, you just want to be super cognitive of that, right? If you have stuff about to fall off, you might want to hold off a little while. Or in our higher education, in our alumni group, I really like that name. I really like it a lot. In our alumni group, right, we show you how to get those inquiries just removed off your report so you can start utilizing this stuff right away. Your overall total credit history. If you have a bunch of charge-offs, collections, late payments, etc., you might want to consider whether getting these removed, having someone help you. Once again, in our alumni groups, we help our clients do all this. So overall credit history, basically you want to make sure your credit's good. What else? Payment history. Back again, you don't want to make sure you have a bunch of late payments. You also want to make sure that you don't have super young, like, time of credit. I can't remember the term of it, but basically they take all of your accounts overall and then they take the average age. So let's say if I have my oldest account's 10 years and my newest account is a year, and those are the only two I have, it's going to cut it right in the middle. It's going to cut the difference. I now have an age history of credit of 5 years. So you want to make sure that your stuff's not super, basically super new in that sense. And then most importantly is taking action on this stuff, guys, is if you need help, if you don't know what to do, The point of this group is to provide as much free content and as much free value and information as possible. But there's the same reason why people will ship with FedEx rather than UPS, because people will pay for speed rather than saving as much money, but having the process be as long as possible. If you're a brand new entrepreneur and you want to scale your stuff as quickly as possible, it might be advantageous to you to get help, to have someone that's done what you're trying to do, to give you the accurate and the most prevalent information. That way you can get your business in a position to be as fundable as possible, as quickly as possible. Another good example, Prime, Amazon Prime, right? That was one of the revolutionary things they ever did, was 2-day shipping. And that was one of the revolutionary pieces that made them the biggest e-commerce platform in the world. I think they're bigger than Alibaba, or Alibaba's bigger, but ultimately you kind of get the point. Now, going back to what I was talking about with regards to corporate credit, that's a big deal as well. So that's actually building out your Dun & Bradstreet score, your business Experian, business Equifax. Is you want to make sure that this stuff isn't lacking either. So let's say for this gentleman, a good example, a gentleman I was speaking with earlier today, where he owns a trucking company, he's probably going to want to start, after we help him out a little bit, start applying for trucks under the business name and leveraging business credit to get the approvals. A couple benefits, right? Number one, the obvious is tax advantages. He's buying business equipment, which is thus a tax write-off. A big part I always preach, same reason why my pickup truck that I have is written underneath the business, is if in the event something horrible were to ever happen, the business will take the blunt, right? Because all my business assets are put underneath the business. That way, all my personal assets are protected, i.e. my social security number, my personal credit score, all that stuff is protected in a shield. That's why you want to build out your business credit. Another thing is, if you are looking at business credit and you're wanting to grow that and build that up, again, that was the examples, the Uline, the Grainger, 7-Eleven, Home Depot, etc. It's a tier system, right? It's not like personal credit, or kind of in a sense like personal credit, but you can't, with no credit, go out and apply for a top tier credit card right off the rip. You kind of got to build yourself up a little bit. Same thing with business credit cards, or trade lines, or things of that nature. There's a tier system you got to go through. Traditionally, it's tier 1 to tier 4. So you got to take yourself up to those levels. Now, another good piece of information that I want to share with you guys too is what I was saying. Okay, so now you're looking at how to do all this. Well, now which credit cards do I apply to based on my credit score on specific bureaus? So again, I live in Washington, right? If I go to Bank of America, got my list here. So if I go to Bank of America and I apply for a card, they're actually going to pull all 3 of my bureaus. They're going to pull my Equifax, my TransUnion, and my Experian. Now, of all of those bureaus, though, they're going to have the most weight based off my Experian report. If you live in Texas, they're going to pull your Experian and your TransUnion. If you live in New Jersey, they're going to pull your Experian and your TransUnion. If you live in Minnesota, they're just going to pull your Equifax, and that's all. Another good example. Now, also, too, as I'm going through these, of course, I can't go through every single state. Down below in the comment section, or you can just private message me as well. I got a lot of stuff going on, but I try to get back to everybody. If you would like to know, hey, I'm looking at this card, which bureau will they pull from? Just let me know or comment down below, and I'll get back with you. Let's say if you want to look at your Barclay, if you want to get approved for a Barclay card. For Washington, they're going to pull TransUnion and Experian, but they're going to have more weight on the TransUnion. South Carolina is also TransUnion. Looks like they're primarily a TransUnion card across the board from the looks of it. Let's see. Let's look at Capital One. It doesn't have much information on Capital One. Let's go to Chase. Chase is a good example. Again, for Washington, let's say if they're looking at a combined chart, they're going to pull Experian, and TransUnion. They're actually going to blend the two scores to get a medium. Now, if you're looking at the Sapphire Preferred, again for Washington, same thing. Then Chase Freedom, same thing. TransUnion Equifax Blend. So yeah, each one of the big banks, each one of the credit unions, they're going to pull a different. Basically, they're going to pull a different score every single time, right? Not every single time, but you got to be coherent about that kind of stuff before you just trying to go out and get a bunch of business credit. You have to go into it very strategic and methodically. Otherwise, in a lot of ways, you're setting yourself up for failure, which is the last thing you want to do. Kind of close out this little impromptu chat. I've been on for 22 minutes now. Not too many people, I guess, are in the group or commenting, not really sure. But as I commented or put out a post yesterday, we are rebuilding and restructuring our entire higher education platform. Right now, we only have 5 spots left for this current batch of people that want to take their stuff to the next level, to get their business funded, utilize credit card stacking, build out their business credit. That way you guys can basically just take your business to the very next level, take it to the moon. 5 spots left. After we close out this batch, I don't know if it's going to be for a week or 2 weeks or a month and a half. I'm not really sure, because we are recalibrating a lot of stuff. We're going to be adding a shit ton more content, which in turn the price is going to go up. So if you would like to be one of the last 5 people to take advantage of this last spot, let me know. Whether comment down below and I'll reach out to you, or shoot me a message on Messenger. So this is Colin. I hope you guys got some more value out of this, and I will catch you all later.